Hey, it's me, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Monte the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
It's Monte and the Pharaoh.
The Monte and Pharaoh Show.
Monte and Pharaoh, bro.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
The Monte and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monte and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
It's Monte and the Pharaoh.
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 And Monte and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monte and the Pharaoh?
Monte and the Pharaoh.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monte and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Monte and the Pharaoh. Duh.
Hey! Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare! And you're watching the #1 show on Long Island with Monte and the Pharaoh.
I think I'd take the job.
What? Look at you getting off. Hey, he's getting off! Yeah. What the frick?
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monte Pharaoh is seen only here out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. That's on Long Island. The internet got crazy over last Monday night's Raw as they caught Alexa Bliss kneeling on a pentagram. Alexa Bliss teases the return to The Fiend, but she kneels in front of a pentagram. What are your thoughts as the internet people are flipping out?
Wyatt laughing, spread chase wings. Oh Lord, yeah, bum. Who's turning all Black Sabbath over a pro wrestling angle? What are you talking about? This is the stupidest thing I've ever. Wait, what happened? The Christian people jumped on. This is outrageous.
Everybody like this is first of all, a pentagram isn't necessarily the devil, is it?
We crucified Stone Cold Steve Austin 20 years ago on a cross. Matter of fact, Sandman's coming in today and he was on a cross. They're freaking out over this?
Yeah.
Really? You put any stock in this? Alexa's your girl. What say you? Has she gone to the dark side? Does she return your calls anymore?
I think Alexa is doing a fantastic job.
I like it.
And again, for all these non-wrestling or these wrestling fans that just hate the product, I am telling you, if there were fans here, again, you wouldn't be able to get away with some of the things that are going on, right, with the disappearing and reappearing.
Right.
Right.
Well, they kind of still do pull it off in front of people.
It's hard. It's hard.
I've seen them do it. The lights go out and
one thing
someone's
that's
missing.
interesting with Alexa, when Randy sees her, they're playing like no one else sees her except for Randy.
Right.
Which is kind of
cool.
Kind of cool.
Kind of like
you can't get away with that in front of live fans.
Right.
I totally get it.
Right.
But if there were live fans, I would say 90% of the stuff that you got going on right now is great. I mean, we had a conversation. I asked you, was Roman Reigns a Hall of Famer? Not more than was he a Hall of Famer. Is he in the top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time?
No, I don't believe that, but I think he's a Hall of Famer. That's where I stand with Roman.
Will Roman Reigns be in the top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time?
I'm not sure about that. We would have to. We'll have to see when the career is over. Right now, it's hard to say.
Well, staying on the subject of Alexa Not So Bliss, the WWE star, Alexa Bliss slams Twitter harassment over bizarre claims that her fiancé is already married. But why things are going well, like we spoke about for the former women's champ, it's still continually having to deal with seemingly obsessed fan who keeps harassing her over her future husband, singer Ryan Cabrera. The fan states he's concerned about Bliss' well-being and he's just trying to protect her. Alexa responds to this gentleman, "Sir, once again, for the 1 millionth time, you don't know me. I do not know you. We have never spoken and we have never met."
Okay. What is this? I mean, why is she even talking to this guy publicly?
Well, I think coming off of the whole thing that happened with Sonya Deville, some of it's getting out of control.
Why doesn't she just ask Vince to send a couple of the guys over there? That'll be the end of that.
Tom Cole 50 took his own life Friday. His brother Lee Cole announced on the news on Twitter, and he called out Vince and Linda McMahon. "My brother Tom committed suicide a couple of years ago," Lee wrote.
A couple of hours ago.
"Vince McMahon and his wife Linda let child molesters into their company years ago and did everything possible to cover up what they did to my brother. I hope you can sleep at night, Vince, as our family suffers. Thank you." Tom Cole worked as a ring boy, for people that don't know, for the WWE, and accused employee Terry Garvin. We talked to Tito about it and Tony when they were in studio.
Right.
And ring announcer Mel Phillips of sexual misconduct and harassment.
He was awful. Go on. He was. Mel Phillips was terrible. Go on.
Unfortunately, Tom took his own life, and his brother claims it's because of this molestation problem.
Okay.
My brother was a good man, a good father, until the pain was so much to bear. Remember, this company, the WWE, would take underage children across state lines. He also was a perfect victim. Father not around and an alcoholic mother. These men knew what to look for. Thoughts?
What was the legal decision on the Ring Boy scandal?
The legal was
it
was settled out of court.
He settled out of court.
Settled out of court.
What does the word settled mean to you?
Settled means that you've accepted whatever they've offered.
Okay.
And you're going to take it and go.
And you're going to move on, right?
Yes.
You're going to move on. Okay.
Yes.
So how is it 30 years later, because it's 30 years later.
Yes.
It is now entirely, 100%. It's tragic what happened, but it's 100% Vince.
By the way,
McMahon's
folks,
fault.
we've got angry Pharaoh today. I mean, he's not giving.
It's 100% Vince McMahon's fault, right? Mm-hmm. He never let it go, and he spent every day thinking about it. Forget his kids, forget his wife, forget his life. Nope, it's Vince. He's ruined me. That's it. 30 years later, huh? But you settled out of court for money. Well, that's on you. Maybe you should have just kept going and going and going until you had him where you wanted him legally, if you were completely in the right and he was truly guilty, these people.
Or maybe you should have been like Marty Jannetty and took a brick and hit him over the head with it.
You can always do that, too.
Right?
You can always do that, too.
So you had a choice, right, for everybody out there?
Listen, if someone's going to mess my life up so badly that I may actually think about hurting myself...
Well, Matt, can you weigh in on this?
What on earth?
Matt, I want you to weigh in on this. You have a choice, right? You got this guy, right? You're young, underage, totally get it. I don't even know if you're underage. You're 19, so you're not underage.
Whatever.
You have a choice. Take a job, give a blow, or hit the guy over the head with a brick and run away.
I'm hitting
choice?
I'm hitting him with a brick. I'm hitting him with a brick.
It's a tough one, right?
I don't give a crap what the...
Again, take a job, give a blow.
I'm hitting him with a brick.
Right? Or hit him with a brick. So remember, Matt,
wait a minute,
remember Marty Jannetty who was here? He had that same thing happening to him, and he took supposedly
he hit him with a brick,
where he announced on this show first that he hit the guy over the head with a brick and then threw him in the river,
right?
Yeah.
Right, and left him to die.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
So what are you doing, Matt? You hitting him?
I think I'd take the job.
What? Look at you getting off. Hey. He's getting off. Yeah. What the frig?
So
I mean,
okay.
You presented me with a couple options.
Well, it's true.
Fair enough.
Your choice. It's
fair
your
enough.
Choice.
So you're taking the job. I get it.
Matty.
Now you're gonna go and bellyache and cry about it 20 years later?
Are you gonna be mad about that you spewed?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
Probably not.
So the guy who's giving is actually risking the potential that, 20 years from now, you might be really mad about spewing.
Yeah, I might, but...
Wow, you're twisted, man. You get to dump a and then you're going to kill him 20 years later?
Oh, my God.
Go ahead, Matt, speak. Go ahead.
I mean, that might be a life-changing decision, I think.
Why don't you just hit him with the brick? This way nobody has to touch each other.
Or take the blow.
What is going on here? Are you taking it? What's your answer?
Well, listen.
This is a horrible conversation.
I would
What's going on here?
Listen, without really committing to this, whatever I would choose, if I took the brick, I would live with it.
Right.
If I took a job,
You
I
live
gave
with
a
it.
job.
You
I
live with
gave
it.
a boy.
Don't you?
I would live with it.
With the fuzzy on the phone. What are you doing? And we can.
Little
Oh
schmitzy.
no! They're
Little
gonna use a
schmitzy
warm
on the
sponge
corner.
to clean it. What's wrong with you? Oh, I'm getting ill.
And settle out of court.
Let's settle out of court. Let's settle. You know? Okay, it's all over. I took some money.
Hey, I
It's
got a
all
blow.
over.
Hey, better yet,
It's horrible.
take a job and get paid for it.
Wow.
Now you're a hooker,
Now we're
Matt.
talking.
Now
What
you're a
is
hooker,
going
brother.
on?
I mean,
Listen, in all seriousness, it's horrible.
Look
that he
at
did
you.
This, but what the hell?
Look at you not giving Tom Cole an inch.
Why? I wouldn't give him. I wouldn't give him 7. Look at it. I'm not budging. Wrecked him. Damn near killed him.
Nothing like
doing
these.
that.
Nothing like
Oh,
these early
God.
morning shows.
No, I know. I'm not even awake. I don't care.
Well, anyway, if it doesn't get worse, all the former wrestlers who have passed away are now taking the lawyers
Wait a
now
minute.
taking the
The
WWE.
ones who've passed away?
Yeah, their lawyers now
their
taking
lawyers.
the WWE to the Supreme Court.
Keep going. Whatever.
Right?
Not- yeah.
Jimmy Snuka, they looked at his brain. Guess what?
Yeah.
He had like that CTE.
Right.
So now they want money.
Okay. They want money. Very interesting. Well, good luck. You'll lose. Right.
Again,
Whatever.
Benoit
You know?
had CTE too.
Right. The only thing that's ever going to change the things that are, wrong in wrestling as far as fairness to the athletes, it's going to be government intervention. I've said it 1,000
How about
times.
the land of excuses?
It's not going to be anything else.
Oh, I'm sorry. I killed my wife and kid.
Right.
I had CTE.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
You didn't get me cocaine. Let me
Right.
knock your head off. Let me knock your block off.
Right.
And let me kill you.
Right.
And then put you in a bed and then say, oh, I had CTE.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. You live like rock stars, and then you want to sue the label.
Wow.
What else is new?
Morning Pharaoh.
What else is new? Could you imagine Led Zeppelin? I'm filing a lawsuit against Atlantic for all the drugs I did backstage before all those concerts. And my wiener hurts from all the groupies. I'm suing. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. You know, you run a risk. This is your form of entertainment. You were paid very well, most of you.
This week we're going to honor
Tony Atlas.
Mr. Tony Atlas. Thoughts on Tony Jimmy Pharaoh?
I love Tony Atlas. Tony Atlas is from my earliest days of being a fan. He was the best. I still wish they had put a title on him, like, a world championship. And he's just great. I was always a fan of his. My first major memory is him and Patera at Shea Stadium. That's how far back I go. He was amazing.
Tony Atlas is one of the all-time greats. without a doubt.
Absolutely. I love Tony Atlas. By the way, he had one of the most beautiful drop kicks. Can I throw that in?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a beautiful drop kick that guy had, and he was so... Oh, how did they not put a belt on him?
They did. They put the tag team belts
Oh,
on.
stop it. That was nice and all, but he should have been world champion, or at least intercontinental champion.
Listen, dude, we've met Tony. Tony's been in studio. Actually, he's a friend of the show.
Yeah,
I
Tony's great.
think he would even say he was not responsible enough to be a world champion.
I guess you're right.
Okay? If I am running a
I
business,
guess
which
you're
I run
right.
businesses, right?
Right.
I would not put Tony Atlas in charge. Even to this day, I would have put Tony
Not
Atlas
even for a
in charge.
couple of weeks. Can't keep him in line for a couple of weeks.
You know what kind of damage a couple of weeks could do?
I forgot to get up for the match.
You know,
Wait a minute. How are we honoring him this way? I wanted a belt on him, and you're like, nope, he's irresponsible.
Well, again,
I'm not giving him.
this doesn't change the fact that Tony Atlas, number one, is a good human being.
Oh, he's awesome.
Number two, one of the great all-time wrestlers. Forget black, white,
Absolutely.
Chinese, or whatever.
Absolutely. And a hell of an artist.
But-
Did it ever occur to the business that this oversaturation of rosters, whether it's WWE, AEW, New Japan, it's hurting the business. There's too many wrestlers. You can't establish an upper echelon and a mid. You can't. You're always, oh, I forgot about this guy. I got to push this guy. Ah, crap, I forgot about this guy. You got 20 pounds in a 2-pound bag. And I think that it's hurting the business.
Anticipated match in the history of professional wrestling for the heavyweight championship of the world. Are you ready? Wrestling fans, are you ready?
That's where we pit these two icons in wrestling, and we say, who is the winner? The Pharaoh's going to read the rules to people. Go ahead, Pharaoh.
Just for the record, by the way, that was Michael Buffer, I heard, right?
That was Michael
Buffer.
Buffer.
Michael Buffer, you're an arrogant ass. You can't lick Gary Michael Capetta's jockstrap. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, head-to-head, here we go once again with our Faberific contest. We have the old-school wrestler versus the newer-school wrestler, if you will. Category number 1, mic skills. That should be self-explanatory. How do you communicate with the audience? Are you affluent in your language? Anyway, number 2, mat skills. Once again, should be self-explanatory. Are you Bret Hart or are you Pete Doherty? Oh, my arm. George Steele. Ow.
One of the great moments in wrestling history, by the way.
That was unbelievable, you know. Number 3, overall influence on the industry. What kind of footprints did you leave in this business? Number 4, my personal favorite, the back of the baseball card, as I like to call it. That, of course, is, you know, your championships, your resume, whether you won Royal Rumbles or Money in the Banks, even if you went over to Japan and won something major. And then finally, number 5, the it factor. What kind of aura did you have in your time period? What kind of player were you? What kind of impact did you have on fan reaction and fan attendance? So that's the 5. What do we got, Mike?
Well, let's speak about today's matchup. The former living legend, Bruno Sammartino, versus La Champion, Chris Jericho.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Pharaoh, our first contestant, Mr. Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno Sammartino unfortunately passed away April 18th, 2018. He did make it into his 80s. Of course, the Italian-American legend with 2 absolutely unbelievable world title reigns that will never be repeated. The first reign lasted somewhere around 7 years. The second reign lasted somewhere close to 4 or whatever, 3 and change or whatever exactly it was. But he had 2 reigns with the WWF Heavyweight Championship spanning 4,040 days.
Damn.
He is the living legend. He is the first major guy I saw growing up with his eternally amazing feud with someone who's been on the show, Larry Zbyszko. Bruno Sammartino, to me, is basically Babe Ruth, or as close as you're going to get. Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Ted Williams. You want to go there, whatever you want to call it. This is rough, man. I'm mad at you.
So,
because you did this with my guy Jericho, so I'm actually a little sore about this.
This came off a conversation with the Pharaoh we were having earlier in the week, and we weren't even talking about head-to-head, but we were just discussing Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Jericho is one of the all-time greats.
Yes.
I've never been a huge fan of Jericho. I'm
have.
not a fan of him.
I am a huge fan.
But as I'm thinking about head-to-head,
yeah,
I'm like, wow, Jericho can give Sammartino,
yes, he can,
the former living legend,
in this competition, he can give him a run
for his money.
Yep.
So this one is probably the third installment of head-to-head.
This is hard.
Is the toughest one yet.
Yeah.
Even though we had a draw on one of them, this is the toughest one.
Well, we make the matchups interesting, so I'm good with this, but I'm actually still pissed.
What is your most memorable?
You put one of my favorite wrestlers up against Bruno.
What's your memorable moment of Bruno?
It goes back to when, well, for me as a fan, it's when Larry and Bruno were having the match that Larry had challenged. Larry was the student, Bruno was the teacher, and Larry had challenged Bruno to a match just to see if he could hang with him during the match, and they're both good guys. Bruno, for some reason, is releasing holds. He's got Zbyszko and he releases it. He's taking it easy on him, and Larry is getting angrier and angrier. He's like, I want you to fight me, fight me. Don't take it easy on me. And you can see him getting angrier. Finally, Larry Zbyszko goes full-fledged heel, grabs a chair, and just beats him bloody. I had never seen anything like that. And in 1980, it wasn't commonplace to see any blood on TV. You had the X over the screen. You know, it was pretty shocking. You know, and then, of course, it climaxed with the Shea Stadium thing. That's my biggest memory of Bruno.
So I came on to wrestling a little bit later. That's where I met Jimmy in junior high.
Right.
My biggest Bruno moment, and it's probably for newer fans too, is when Randy Savage used the ring bell on Ricky Steamboat before WrestleMania 3 and tried to end Ricky Steamboat's career.
Okay.
When Savage goes back into the locker room, Sammartino was an interviewer, and Sammartino starts talking to Savage about how could you do this, and Savage starts gloating on how he's ending this guy's career. San Martino then loses control, just calls him a piece of trash, drops the microphone, and starts to beat the living out of Randy Macho Man Savage.
Right. That was
for me.
That was a great program.
That, we all knew about Bruno, but for me, that's my most memorable moment of Bruno. And he then carried on matches with Bruno within the Boston Garden.
I saw one the other night. It was entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Bruno, by the way, was really at the end, and he was still kicking. He was still kicking. That was a great matchup.
Let's talk about our second contestant, La Champion.
La Champion! Christopher Keith Irvine. Of course, his dad played for the Rangers. Chris Jericho, of course, as he's well known as. My God, man. He's just such a legend. I love this guy. It doesn't matter where he's been. He's always been successful. He's held belts in everywhere he's gone. New Japan, of course. The most important thing about Chris Jericho to me is that he was the first ever undisputed world champion after Vince purchased WCW. We had the Universal title, which represented WCW, the World Heavyweight Championship, and we had the WWE title. And Jericho was the first one to hold both simultaneously. We know what he's done in recent years. I always thought that it was a huge mistake for Vince McMahon to let him go, and now he's become a headache as he is the face pretty much, along with John Moxley of AEW. Chris Jericho, at the time when he was first coming up, had to fight his way through to respectability because he was smaller, or in Vince's eyes, shorter, and he did. He had it hard. And as far as his wrestling skills, he was one of the guys, along with a Rob Van Dam and other guys like that set the bar in a lot of ways for most of the professional wrestlers we see today. I don't know if I should applaud him for this, because now it's gotten out of control where we feel like we're watching dance choreographing. But Jericho was absolutely, it feels that way sometimes, but Jericho was absolutely...
In fact, the fans are saying that right now on our YouTube page,
I agree
right?
with them. It was absolutely...
It's your fault, Jericho.
Well, it's not his fault that other people turned it into a ballet, but Chris Jericho was truly one of the great revolutionary mat guys.
Best Jericho moment?
There's too many. But you know what my favorite moment is? When he debuted with The Rock.
I'll go with you on that,
because the anticipation, the countdown, his name flashes across the screen and you hear a roar. Because it's a Jericho. And then the best part was Rock is, who in the blue hell are you?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, but it was so satisfying because I always wanted to see Jericho in a main event level. I knew WCW had mismanaged him and not done right by him. So when I see Jericho and The Rock on the first program in his new company, I'm like, yes, Vince is going to take care of him.
I also give Jericho props for this. He put the business over himself.
Yes.
He was the first guy, I believe, to lose to China.
Right.
For the Intercontinental title. Now, this is a well-established wrestler who's allowing, probably the first, and correct me if I'm wrong, fans, the first time a woman to beat a man
for a title.
Right. It probably, period, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, that in itself alone. All right, so let's get at
Jericho
it.
gets it.
Mike Skills, Jericho or San Martino?
Come on, Jericho. Which one?
Jericho,
Mike Skills?
Jericho, I agree. Jericho taking one over the former living legend.
It's pretty obvious.
Matt Skills.
Jericho.
Wow.
He's got two.
This could be a blowout, folks.
You cannot tell me Bruno Sammartino was a better professional wrestler on the mat than Chris Jericho. That's silly.
You're not hearing a disagreement with me.
Right. That's just silly.
Overall influence on the industry.
Bruno.
This one we might disagree on.
No way. Bruno. Do you realize how many greats we enjoyed during the Attitude Era who idolized Bruno? You know, we wouldn't have the Triple H's of the world or the Stone Colds we wouldn't have any of them. Bruno.
All right, so we got Jericho 2, Bruno 1.
By the way, and I know what you may be thinking, because Jericho's done so much outside the business, entertainment, blah, 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 blah. Did I ever tell you my first memories of Bruno Sammartino? The first time I saw Bruno Sammartino was on WABC's George Plimpton's Wide World of Sports, where he did a biography on Bruno Sammartino. It was the 70s. By the way, this program would do biographies on Muhammad Ali, Joe Namath, and here's Bruno Sammartino. He was one of the early ones to break the mold for the rest of these guys with television.
JJ says WrestleMania 19 with HBK and Jericho, awesome match.
Amazing. I totally agree, and I think it's a little underrated. I think it's amazing. Agree.
Back of the baseball card.
Bruno.
Wow.
4,040 days. Madison Square Garden was sold out from 1963 to 1977. Sold out. With once a week at midnight, 1 hour programming. Sold out. Bruno Sammartino's back of his baseball card will never be touched.
So we've got a tie right now. Here's a tiebreaker.
Yep.
The it factor.
Bruno. Now, if it was the charisma factor, okay, you know, this is not about charisma. This is about what kind of influence you've got on the fans, the response of the fans, the way you work with the good guys or bad guys, depending what your role is. Dude, you do not sell out Madison Square Garden for 14 years and not have it factor. Chris Jericho cannot say that he was world champion and sold out for his company for a decade and a half. No one touches Bruno.
Well, the Pharaohs have spoken, and the winner of head-to-head goes to the former living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
By the way, that was close. You had me nervous. I was like, damn it, there's no way.
We'll be